just to build a little bit on that point, we're already seeing the economic crisis hitting our beneficiaries and our constituents very hard. So I think what we see is the way we position it is a child hunger crisis that's happening. And that's impacting all of the work we do. So families are having to spend a huge portion of their income on food. And that means that they're not sending their kids to school. That means that they're not taking their kids to the health clinic. That means that obviously their kids are probably also not getting enough nutrition. So that we're already seeing in places like Ethiopia and in other parts of sub-Saharan Africa, certainly already. And we expect that that's gonna spread. So that is gonna put tremendous pressure, I think, on us as organizations to respond to that. And I actually have a lot of hope that we will be able to do that. I do think that we will be able to get funding to respond to that child hunger crisis. The other point you touched on is the pressure within the country that you are located in to actually work in that country. And Save the Children has a large, actually growing U.S. program. And I expect that we will get lots more requests to do that work. Right now, there's a piece that's focused on literacy and a piece that's focused on nutrition. And I expect that we'll be getting a lot more requests to do that work, and we'll have to respond there as well. I think on that side, again, there might be an opportunity there. It might be an opportunity for CARES to build a relationship in their home countries for a very specific piece of work that they could and maybe should be doing in their own countries. So it might be one of those things that, you know, sometimes crisis does begat opportunity, and it might be one of those things that CARE would really want to look at. I think the other big opportunity here is on collaboration. And I think you touched a little bit on it, going all the way to kind of the merger situation. And that very well may be one of the things that we want to start talking about, but at least we need to start to talk about real collaboration, because if costs are squeezed, that's a place where we can put our heads together. I was talking at lunch with a couple folks about how we might do logistics together in both emergencies and our development programs. That might be a place where we can really do that. It might be the time where in the US we finally get to emergency fundraising as a group, like we do in the UK and in Norway and in other European countries, where we actually went out with a joint appeal on emergencies and didn't all spend lots of money on raising funds. So maybe it's an opportunity for us to, in some ways, maybe we can use the economic crisis to force more collaboration on things that will, in fact, you know, enable our dollars to go further. So it might be a good opportunity.
All right, thank you. I do want to be respectful of Meg's hard stop at 3 o'clock, because I know she'll hurt me. And I do want to hear from our other two colleagues, but I also want to keep as much time as we have left open for you all to ask questions of these folks, because there's a lot of gold and passion that we're mining here, but I know there's a lot of gold and passion out there to be mined as well. So, continue.
I'm afraid to share our experiences at EBON. We're a southern organization, but 80% of our turnover is actually from the market, because our work in providing educational materials to schools was so good, not because simply we wanted to provide books and teacher training and so on, but because we wanted to integrate human rights, gender, environment into the curriculum. And as a result, we were so successful that we're considered one of the best. And so, you know, we even bid for World Bank Education for All projects and so on, except that with corruption, we lose the bidding. But anyway, so we think it's a rare example where the work that you do brings in the money. We work with 200 schools who pay for these textbooks, and we use that money to pay for non-formal education and so on. But I think the important thing is, that's why I thought Sheila's speech was very good, because what we need to be is to be entrepreneurial, not in the sense of being doing business, but in being flexible and creative. And that's what's really necessary, not just in the north, but as well as in the south. But not in the sense of pushing our partners to require them to go into income-generating projects which are artificial, but for them not to be dependent that there's always a CARES that will be behind them, but to stand for themselves. And I think that's an important aspect that we should develop or in the context of empowerment. Then the next point would be that it is, I think, one of CARE's responsibility to bring those voices into the global platform. One, not only because we say it's one voice, many voices, one movement, but also because it strengthens CARE's voice. It strengthens the global civil society's voice in making sure, in pushing the development agenda. And in this sense, I'd like to emphasize that I see 4 roles for the work of an international organization. One is to provide that enabling support at country level, which is what you're already doing very well. Second, to provide that enabling space, both at country and more importantly at international levels. I've heard around the different breakout groups about the need to bring partner voices abroad. I think this is actually very important because it strengthens them. But it also strengthens that one movement concept. The other one is, of course, crafting CARE, therefore, as a global force of CAREs and partners is done when you have strengthened the partners themselves. In the end, I think this all works out to strengthen the capacity for greater fundraising.
We bring the issue again down to why we're here and the people that we work with, the people we serve to address poverty. You know, we have never used, or people outside of our industry have never used the words rescue. It's curious that, you know, when it hits the most powerful financial and economic institutions in the world, we use a very emotive word, right? But you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, the deficit that poor people experience and have experienced for generations is now compounded, right? And my fear, frankly, for their condition is that we're really coming towards a very toxic soup. And you know, it is about food, it's about inputs, it's about financial constraints, it's about the inability of host governments to, you know, to lift up the poor in social safety net programs or social sector spending. It is also, frankly, about, you know, the effects of climate change and security. Security in, you know, acutely in conflicts in countries that are experiencing conflict, but also in countries where there's such gross inequity that crime is a way of life. So, you know, I think from the perspective of the abject poor, we're already seeing the figures. You know, the numbers of critically malnourished, chronically malnourished people have gone up by over 100 million. The number, you know, the definition of a dollar went to $1.25, and there's even, you know, more people below that threshold now. So the indicators are there. You know, I fear from their perspective, we're losing a lot of ground, and it really does push us, you know, to listen. I think, you know, to the voices that we've heard here today. You know, concentrate on creating opportunities for girls to go to school. Concentrate on opportunities for people to have economic opportunity in small and simple ways and sustainable ways. You know, look at new coalitions and partnerships that can do new things. But you know, until we actually do use the words rescue and much more emotive, much more action-oriented language about the problems that we have to overcome, I fear we're going to be low in people's in trays, frankly.